Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be making an African beef stew. If you'd like to learn how to prepare this in your kitchen, please stay tuned. If you are new to my channel, please click on the subscribe button below to watch more videos from me. Right, let's get into the video. I'm going to make a beef stew. So this is a Ghanaian stew that we tend to eat with like rice or like yam or any kind of carbohydrate really. But I'm just going to show you the steps that I take to make my stew. The base of the stew, you can put any kind of protein in there. So if you can use beef, you can use goat, you can use chicken, fish, whatever. I'm today going to be using beef. So here I've got 1 kilogram of beef. Beef, it's got bones on it. I like my meat to have bones on it because I think the bones give it extra flavour. So I'm going to steam the beef. I'm not going to add any water in it. I'm just going to steam the beef on a medium to high heat. And I'm going to add in my aromatics here. So here I've got a couple of onions. You can use any colour onions. I've got like 1 red onion and 1 normal onion. I've got some ginger here. I've got some Scotch bonnets. I've got some garlic, and I've got 2 Maggi cubes. So I'm just going to throw those in. I'm not going to chop them up or anything like that. And I'm also going to add in some sea salt, just a little bit. Cover it up and turn it on. So this is going to be cooking on a medium to high heat without any moisture. So what's going to happen now is the natural moisture from the meat is going to basically draw itself out. It's going to steam and it's going to absorb all the flavors. So when you add the moisture to it, it kind of dilutes the flavor. So I don't want to do that. I want to keep all the flavor in, so no moisture. Okay, 10 minutes later, you can see there's a lot of moisture in there already. Look, and I didn't add any water. So, as I said, you don't need to add water. And it's coming along nicely. It smells gorge. And the onions and the peppers and the garlic and the ginger and everything will just kind of like disintegrate into nothing when it's ready. So all the flavour will get absorbed. Just test it actually to make sure it's got the flavour. Yeah, perfect. Right, so we're back 40 minutes later. So I let that stew down for 40 minutes because I want my meat to be nice and tender. And this is what it looks like. All the onions and the ginger and the Scotch bonnet, everything has dissolved. It's all disintegrated and the flavour has been absorbed into the meat. So this is what the result looks like. Nice and juicy, tender meat. And then we're just going to take that to the next stage now. So we've taken the beef out of the pot and we're going to fry that separately. I just wanted to show you that the beef did leave some stock. And we've got this stock here, so do not throw this away. We're going to use this for our stew. So we're going to keep this and put that in our stew for extra flavour. Okay, so now we're going to fry our beef. I've got my frying pan here and I've got about 3/4 cup of sunflower oil heating up on a medium to high heat. So now we're just going to place in our beef and start frying it. So we'll let our beef fry until it's nice and crispy. Make sure you turn it. Make sure all sides are getting fried and coated with the oil. And it's ready. It only needs about 5 to 7 minutes in the frying pan. Don't forget, the meat is already cooked, so we're just basically trying to brown the meat off and make it a bit crispy. So we'll take that out now and put that to the side. And here's our beef. Make sure you don't eat all of it before it goes in the stew. Very tempting though, because it tastes delicious. And let me just show you how tender this actually is. So if you can see that, look, look guys, look. it is absolutely just tender. Right, so we're going to make a start on our stew. So let's do a quick run through of all the ingredients that we'll be using. Here I have 4 sliced onions. I've also got I've got a Maggi cube, 2 bay leaves, some Scotch bonnet, and also I'll be using some ginger. We're using some ginger because it adds extra flavour to the stew, and that's exactly what we want. I also have 1 bell pepper, tinned tomato, tomato puree, salt and curry powder. So the combination of all these wonderful ingredients will make our really lovely stew. So I'm going to show you how we do that, so please stay tuned. So we're going to start this process off with our frying pan and the same oil that we used to fry the beef. We're going to keep this oil throughout the whole process just because it's got so much flavour in it. We do not want to throw it away. So put all your onions and your ginger into the frying pan and let that cook slowly. The aim here is to caramelize these onions. We want these onions to caramelize and soften and brown. The onions are caramelizing here, as you can see. They're getting nice and soft. I need them to brown for a little bit longer before we take them off. So I'll say another 5 minutes more on the frying pan, and then they can come off the frying pan and go into the blender. Okay, this is starting to look perfect now, so I'm now going to take this off the stove and I'm going to blend these onions to a nice paste. Just I'll be back shortly. Note that I'm not going to discard of this oil. Again, I'm going to keep that and reuse it. So just please note that we haven't actually added any additional oil since frying the beef. We are continuing with the same oil. So now we just want to blend our tomatoes and peppers together. So in goes the 1 can of tinned tomatoes, and in goes our bell pepper and Scotch bonnet peppers also. So here we have blended all of our ingredients and cooked our ingredients separately. So we have our caramelized onions and our ginger blended nicely together into a nice paste. We have our concentrated stock from the beef. We do have the beef here that we steamed and fried. Here we have our tomato and our bell peppers and Scotch bonnets blended together. We've got some tomato puree, we've got our Maggi shrimp cube, and we've also got some bay leaves that we're going to use. And I've got some salt here. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it. It's just salt to taste. We've created so much flavour with the ingredients, so we may not need it. So when we get to the point of tasting, I'll see if I need to add that, but we've got some salt just in case. Okay, so here I've got the same oil that we used to fry the beef and the onions. So I've not added any extra oil to it. We're just using the same oil. It's got loads of flavour in it because obviously we fried the beef in there. We also fried or sauteed the onions in there and the ginger. So it's got a lot of flavour to it. So to add our pureed onions. And stir that. Just stir for a couple minutes, just so that the onions can get used to being in the oil. Oh, there we go. When it starts bubbling, that's when you know you're ready for your next ingredient, the tomato puree. So I'm going to include the tomato puree in there, all of it. It's going to start bubbling, guys, so just keep your eye on it. And mix that in thoroughly. Mix together nicely now, as you can see. So that is the onion, ginger and the tomato puree so far. Next I'm going to go in with my seasoning and my flavours. So I've got curry powder in here. So I'm going to put in, let's say, 1 tablespoon of curry powder. Mix that in. I've also got my Maggi cube. I'm using shrimp Maggi cube, but you can use whichever one you like. So Maggi cube goes in, and so do the 2 bay leaves. They all go in at this point. And also because this is the flavour enhancing stage. I'm going to add my concentrated stock from the beef, so all of that goes in. All of it, all of it, all of it, and mix that thoroughly. I might need a little bit of salt, but I won't add the salt in just yet. I'll wait until I put the tomato and the peppers in, because then I'll be able to gauge how much salt I actually need. So I'm going to cover that and leave that to cook on a low heat for 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, and the oil has risen to the top, so we now know that we're ready for our next ingredient, which is the peppers and the tomatoes. So in goes all of that. And stir that thoroughly together. Still on a low heat. We want this to kind of cook slowly. It's going to cook for a little while on a slow heat. I'm going to check it for salt now, because this is a time, yeah, it could do with a little bit of salt. So I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there. So now we're going to let that cook. Keep stirring every 10 minutes. So we'll come back after 10 minutes and stir again. 15 minutes later, and you can see all the oil has risen to the top. We've got a nice thick stew here. I'm now going to add my meat to it. Oil's on top, so it's ready for the next ingredient. I'll just mix that in thoroughly. Cover it and let that cook for another 10 to 15 minutes on a really low heat. The point of this process now is to allow the stew to kind of be absorbed by the meat. Okay, it's been like 10 to 15 minutes now, and our stew's ready. You can see it's nice and rich in colour. The oil has separated itself from the stew, so it's risen to the top. The meat is well submerged into the stew, so you know that it now actually is carrying some of the flavour of the stew, and that is what you want it to look like. This is a versatile stew that can be eaten with rice, it can be eaten with yam, kenke, plantain, even pasta. So give it a try. I'm going to plate this up now, guys. Thanks for staying tuned, guys. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram at @Astrid's_kitchen. See you guys in the next video.